All right. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it is for you, wherever you are. My name's Andrea Mai, and this is the Pure Light Project podcast. We're doing both a YouTube video and a podcast this week. And my guest today, my friend, my pal, my soul brother, Max Harvey, is here to come and play with me and see what kind of wonderful conversation we can have. And so we've had a few minutes of knocked over teacups and microphone checks, and here we are, we're ready to go. So hi, Max. I'm so glad that we're here and a little ready.
Hi, Andrea. It's a pleasure and an honor, and always lovely spending time with you. So thank you for asking me.
Yeah. So you're in London area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And how long have you been there? Like, is that where you grew up, or did you just land there as an adult? Or
I was born in West London, which is where I am now, still West London, in Hammersmith. And I grew up close to Hammersmith in Chiswick and Acton. My mum's Irish. My dad is a Londoner, going back quite a way in his family line, I think. Having said that, there is some there's some possibly some Sri Lankan in his line.
okay.
So yeah, I've been recently inspired to look into that. Yeah, so I've spent, so this is, if we do choose where we incarnate, and I feel we do, then this is where I personally chose, and it's London is fascinating. And yeah, so at 45 now, I'm still here. I've traveled around the world, but yeah, I'm still rooted here. But I don't know if I'll be here for much longer.
That's cool. Yeah, there's a lot of shifts for a lot of us, I love what you said about choosing where you incarnate. Like, obviously, like, I'm wearing flannel, right? I think my soul is wrapped in flannel. I grew up in northern Minnesota, and there's just something about the cold and the air, the trees and the way the sky looks in a very remote place that is unparalleled. No matter where else I've been in the world, it's the place that still just almost brings me to my knees. The people don't always, but the land does. There's something there. So that's cool. So Max and I know each other from a group, sort of some common interests. There's a New Earth group that we are part of on Telegram, and I think we probably met through Hira, through one of her programs or Lotus Rides or something like that. And so it's been a lot of fun to get to know you over about, I guess maybe the last year or so was when I started coming into that group, but it sounds like you had probably been connected to them for quite a bit longer, maybe, or
Yeah, I mean, I've been, I don't know, maybe, well, I've been doing the Lotus rides. I haven't done the last 2, 3, or 4 of them just because of what's been going on in life here in London, and just having more to kind of dance with and navigate in London. But about not too long after I started doing them and did them consistently, because Hira is profound in her purpose and her living her purpose, and she's a a leader of kind of a way shower of for all, as many of us are in our own ways, but she's definitely a leader and a very good one, and very completely New Earth focused, and she's a beautiful person, really like. her a lot, and I met her in Sedona at a workshop given by Drumbelow Melchizedek called Cosmic Grace. And that's kind of that was the culmination of all of his work and all of that work. I won't say his work because it's multidimensional, of course,
Right.
up to that point. And it was a profound moment, actually. I remember that, or just hard to put into words, hard to put a word to it, but it was a very magical experience. It was mainly the teachers in that workshop, and I think that work is still waiting to be presented and embodied, because it felt like it was kind of early. It was coming out, it was being presented and shown to us, and we were incorporating the meditations into our bodies as they were appearing sort of through to Drum Below. So yeah, that's where we met.
That's awesome. Yeah, Sedona, that's some serious energy there. I've been 2 or 3 times now, and literally only for like a day each time,
Wow.
not sometimes not even a full day. And it's my goal is this spring to make it back there. But Cosmic Grace, man, that just, wow. When you said those words, I don't actually know, I haven't really gone deeply into Drumbelow's teachings. But that phrase, it feels like my heart, it feels like everything. And to be able to embody that, what a precious thing to be able to do for yourself and for others to, kind of experience it with you and through you. That's any element of that you can bring to life through these vessels, True. That's a life's work.
Yeah, as I say, it's not easy to put into words, like, because it feels like it's almost beyond, I don't know. There are, you have occasional experiences that aren't easy to put into words because they're just so multidimensional, and it's almost like you're being exposed to beautiful new frequencies through them, and you just got to have the experience.
Yeah. That's, I'm a writer, and I've spent my life trying to capture everything in words. Like photographers try to snap the perfect picture. I've always tried to snap the perfect line, and I was laughing because the other day I must have 10 dictionaries and thesauruses over here. I was organizing, and I'm like, maybe I should like go through these and see the many ways you describe, that it's described, one word is described. But point being, as I've gone on, I mean, I'm 49, and it's been a lifetime journey with words and language. And I find myself wanting less and less of them, and to just rest in the space. There's so many words, that get used all day long, every day, and there's not enough moments in between the words, and that's hard, right? Even like as I'm having these conversations with you, with others, it's like, how do we allow a little bit of that room, that breath in between, while still keeping attention of, but maybe the ones who want the breath will be the ones who give the attention to the conversation. And I think I'm okay with that. if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I love words are powerful, of course, as you know. Anyone who works with words, or works with words creatively, poetry comes to mind straight away, because and I see an emergence, a re-emergence, or people taking it up, creative individuals, learning and experimenting with, and writing beautiful poetry, friends who were already particularly good with words, wordsmiths, but there is because what we're going through at the moment is so intensive, or there's a density of it of in our collective neural network of what we're all grappling with every day, that therefore if we can crystallize that, if we're going to put it into words, we kind of need to crystallize it, or we need to have these long form discussions and talks, and that's the best way. It feels like the only real way at the moment, or the most productive way to use our vocabularies, our language. And there is a great maturity coming through in that as well, or a need for maturity. Like, it's the only way. We're being called to be as mature as we can be, and in our abilities.
Mature and playful.
Playful at the same time. Absolutely, couldn't agree more. Yeah, because the word mature can make you feel a bit like, like maybe, I don't know, stale, and just like, where do you go from there? But it's like, you have to be playful at the same time. Of course, I agree.
Yeah, I have a friend who she has 5 children. She just had her 5th, and she has this one child who I think he's probably like 10, right? So just on the cusp of, and you can tell he's a very old soul, right? And that's what I think of. He will play on the ground, literally on his belly, just like I watched him this summer, like on his belly, just splashing some water in a little kiddie pool, just hanging out in nature, right? But he's like, you can just like it just pulsates off of him, the wisdom inside this little kid, right? And it's like that. I want to be that.
Yeah.
Splashing in the mud puddle, but still one with it all and curious about it all. I love it.
Couldn't agree more. And I see it with when people walking their dogs here in London. If I'm sitting down just kind of watching a sunset or contemplating, and there are people walking by with their dogs, and you notice that the animal kingdom, that's their nature, of course. They're just by their very natures, they're playful, but they're like, they're attentive to everything, and they're sort of, they don't miss anything, and they're sort of like, they're always on the, noticing everything. And but yeah, children, animals, and maybe the older people as well, who have completed all come through their cycles, and they're in a place of more openness and kind of grace.
Yeah, it's funny. I was home recently up in Minnesota. I live in Tennessee, and so it's about 1,100 miles from where I live to where my childhood home is. And I was talking with one of my cousins about our grandmother. And when we knew her, when we were children, she's been gone for about 10 years now, maybe 11 years. But I mean, like, the image I have of her, right, is just this sweet woman who was always hanging out in her vegetable garden, and like, there was this soft, youthful, very youthful heart wrapped in a woman she exuded love, like, really, truly. And so it was funny because my cousin was talking to her dad about when my grandma was younger. So probably she was more like my age, and she had 8 kids. And they said something I had never heard was that she was a real taskmaster, right? She kept everything in line, and you better toe the line, basically. and that was not any of my experience with her. So when you're talking about that, right, at some point she must have kind of gotten to the point where she could lay down that aspect of her personality or her nature, or her need to control, and just float a little. So
yes, so the cycles of life, and it's only when you see sort of, if you don't have, like, I don't have any, there are no young children in my immediate family, and when I see friends, children, or you see, people out in the community, the cycle of life just hits you. You're hit by it in a nice way, because it's just that's what this realm is. It's this cycle of life. We only have a finite amount of time here, and it's like, and it's so beautiful. And yeah, something happens, probably, I'm sure, no question, at certain times. There's that metamorphosis we go through when we turn into adults, and the sort of, you're facing this, you're really head on facing this world, like, and going for it, exploring everything, and then yeah, and you come full circle through that, I guess, for women and men. I mean, women have their own cycles, so that's fascinating. I'm learning a bit more about that from a friend who studies and knows a lot about the moon cycles.
yeah.
And so hopefully, I think it'd be nice if we talked about that a little bit more openly in our society, how that is the nature of woman,
Yeah.
and that is, it's half of our species. Plus we're
Yeah.
entering a female, energetically female paradigm now, or we're in, even though it doesn't look like it, feel like it yet.
Yeah. Or at least more balanced,
Balance, right? Yeah,
you
it's
know
just that, exactly. Because if you say male or female, it sounds like you're just entering duality again. But yeah, I agree.
yeah.
Balance. Yeah,
Yeah,
couldn't agree more.
that's interesting. It's interesting to hear a man, even most of even taking an interest in understanding that to any degree. That's pretty cool. I know there are people periodically that I've met who do, but how wonderful because it is an aspect that is usually used against women by women and men, right? So that's cool.
But
Uh,
it's half of life on this planet. I mean, and we're all brought up by mothers, and they go through these cycles. I have a sister. If I knew a little bit more when I was growing up about the facts, I did know some facts, probably more than I had a very open mother and sister. But I mean, maybe intuition is, obviously, that's how we all navigate these each other's cycles. We have to rely on our feeling and intuition about it, and but we still don't talk about it that much. And it's like, if it's if our world is in a mess and it's starts needing to recreate itself, and we're needing to recreate systems that are collapsing around us,
yeah.
then we got to understand the fundamentals. We can't do it without that.
Yeah.
And that's a fundamental. I don't know. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I heard something the other day, and I've been watching this around me. I've had more men with sort of I've talked about this in other, conversations or videos, but sort of this energy, we call it masculine energy, right? But it's sort of like a really distorted view of that, I think. But the notion of things having to be very logical, very systematic. I remember years ago, a meditation teacher of mine was telling me about a book she had read that really helped explain men to her. Because as women, you know, sometimes you still operate in that way, especially if you're out like in the world of business, right? There is absolutely a structure that is in place that you must, and many men don't feel it doesn't work for anyone really, you know, but she was talking about how men, the way men are wired, no matter, and there was an anthropologist who went, or a sociologist who went and studied communities all over the world, and how men were best when when they were in a hierarchy and understood their spot in it, you know. And so it didn't matter actually where they were in it, as long as they knew where they fit in it. Does that feel like, for your experience, does that feel accurate?
I'd say when men come together in groups, that happens naturally. And it is literally nature just running through the group and doing its thing. And I do feel that, yeah, that's just how male groups organize. And it's the structural side of the universe, and the energetics. And the females, when I say I walk into my mum's home and she's got lots of her female friends around, they're having an evening, like a book club they do. It can feel like chaos, like, but there is I know there is this different mystical order to that chaos. It's just a different type than when a whole room of men are together. And yeah, and of course it depends on the individuals as well. Like if a lot of the individuals in that room have a more, you know, a more male dominant energy, or then maybe it will take on that structure that you mentioned that men take on. So yeah, it's totally fluid. Yeah.
Fascinating. All the many ways we play with ourselves and our experience, you know, I love it. But so you do, you have this gorgeous wall behind you. Is that something that you did you paint that, or
I did paint, yeah. I was just, I mean, that's kind of like a experiment. I was just, when I moved in here, I paint stripped the wall and I just started like getting creative, and I just stripped out that face and I just left it. And I've meant to paint over it because it was staring at me for too long, and it's you know, it's I don't know why I did that face. Who knows?
Do you know, does it remind you of someone in particular, or if that's
it always well, sorry, it always looked
personal?
no, it always looked, actually, interestingly, it looks androgynous. It's a kind of male female. Some people say it looks more male, some people say it looks more female. People have seen it, and I saw it as male, but I thought it looked a little bit like, I don't know. I mean, there's no meaning to it, you know. The little paint, it just came through, yeah. But that painting there is more like something I love to do, which is a mix of sacred geometry and watercolor. Just that mix of like structure and flow in artwork.
So is that sort of your primary thing that you do, is art, and is it painting, or do you play with a lot of different things? Or
I would say, yeah, I am creative. I like to be as creative as possible. I think that's one of our human superpowers. For everyone has it in their own way, and we can't waste it. Like we got to explore it, and we got it. You know, it's just yeah. So I mean, I've I've had an unusual path. Like I wouldn't say I can't really label myself like as anything, you know. My dad was an artist and he was a commercial artist, and that's how I grew up, watching him and observing how he did that. And he provided for our family as well as my mom. She did amazing work as well, but he was at home all the time, which was, um, it's a huge gift, and I feel forever grateful that he was always there. And he was a gentle, attentive. He's a really, yeah. I mean, he passed away last December, and I'm reflecting a lot on the gifts that he bestowed. He, just being, and how he chose to live his life, the example of how he lived growing up around that. And so, yeah, he was at home illustrating all day, every day growing up, and playing guitar um, and smoking dope after we'd gone to bed. But like not only a little bit. Like he was one of these people that it helped him to work. He used it only a little bit. He wasn't very, what I mean is he was in control of his space, and he had a good work ethic, and provided by doing something he loved and was creative. And I'm inspired to do that myself, more and more and more.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And have you mentioned that you might be leaving London, which is probably one of the biggest cities in the world. So exploring all kinds of new, bringing in to a richer expression, right? These parts of you that maybe haven't been as active in a new place. Like, sounds like a lot to take on, experience.
To move, you mean? Or
to move and to maybe bring in more of these parts of yourself? Do you feel like in moving like to a new location that might open up the potential for you to explore
I mean,
your art more deeply?
Well, so it's tricky. So I feel like I've spun quite a few plates. I went when I was 22. I should give you a background because otherwise, we naturally try and work out like what each other do, where we are in life, how did we get there, and I've noticed that unless I give a bit of a backstory to people, I'm not easy to figure out. I suppose maybe I am. I don't know, but that's just what I'm guessing. Maybe I am. I don't know. But it's so when I was 21, I went traveling, left college. I did 2 years of a degree, and then I left to go traveling. I needed to stop that course. I just felt it was actually the beginning of that. We all, when you start to feel uncomfortable and you need something in you is awakening. We all have our own journey with that, and especially like you and I, people who find their way to meditation groups or explore spirituality first in their own utterly unique way, and then they find groups, and then we come together as groups. And when I was 20, so when I was 21, I went to traveling, and I didn't collapse, but I was feeling unwell before I left, actually. But I was young, and I had a lot of youthful power that we all have running through us, but there was something wrong, and I got ill. I more or less, I had to like lie down by the side of a road when I was walking down the road with a friend, and that just got worse and worse. And it looks, on reflection, it looks like it was all from a tick bite from Lyme, caused by Lyme disease. But yeah, I was on my own out there in Australia. I'd left my friend there, and I was stuck in this youth hostel. And I couldn't move. Like my body didn't work. Something was really wrong. And I had loads of visits to doctors, to the hospital, all sorts of stuff. Managed to get back to London in a roundabout way. But I stopped talking. Like I couldn't talk. Like my head, every time I tried to speak, I felt this huge pressure in my head. And I just kind of shut down and went within, just completely shut down. Got home and I spent I got home in a wheelchair basically. And I spent 3 months lying flat on the sofa, and I didn't say one word for 3 months. I did not move for 3 months other than to go to the bathroom in a wheelchair. And that carried on for a few months.
Was there internal dialogue, or was it just a period of deep silence inside of you as well?
It was more like spaciousness. Yeah. So no, I wouldn't say there was no internal dialogue, unless, you know, when you have like if there was like a nurse came to take blood samples at one point, and that was actually more of a physical experience. But when stress levels go up, usually people's internal dialogue starts to go for it and just go all over the place, just as a reflection of the chaos and the increase in stress hormones and all that stuff. But no, it was basically open space. I just felt like I was in deep space.
Wow.
And but it was really awful for my family, you know. You know, and that shut me down even more, because I couldn't bear really that they were suffering because I was suffering, you know. And so I kind of really got locked in, and that lasted for quite a few months. And so I kind of, my programming that I was, that societal programming that happens to all of us just growing up in this world, kind of started to unravel, and not unravel, but like dissolve, I would say, gently dissolve away, you know. And that was good and bad, you know. It's like it was really challenging, seriously challenging, because to come back from that was very it was very windy, bumpy path, and I wouldn't recommend that route to anyone. You know, but route of whatever it was, you know, whatever. But it I eventually got better, or learned how to fix myself by the internet was a huge help. Once I started researching on the internet, and yeah, I got to know the internet as a brain, as a neural network, like fully, because I had all this time to do that. And I researched all these subjects around human potential, things that I'd always been interested in. And
yeah, I mean, you bring just an exquisite amount of information inside our group whenever there's like a health question posed, you know, like deeper than, and there's a lot of knowledge inside that group. But I mean, you just bring stuff that obviously you have a very inquisitive nature, and you go very, very deep with whatever you're researching or learning about. So
well, also, like a lot of the things that I learned around those years, that time, really embedded, because it's not like learning now where I'm quite distracted a lot of the time. You have a lot of things on your mind, and if you learn something, if you read an article, it may not really go in. And so also I feel a responsibility to, you know, to put that, to share that back out in the most constructive way possible, literally to just give it back, because I received it. I need to put it back out there, because it's stuff that, information that is not easy to, you have to know what you're looking for, kind of thing. You know, it's not, you might come across it, but you may not value it that much if you just come across certain,
until you can apply it in your life, right? If it's something that you've learned and you applied, like Qigong became very instrumental in some of my own healing in my body, and like learning how to integrate energy. And I was like, oh man, I need like everybody needs to know about some of these things, right? Because they're so simple, you know, uh, different things like that. Yeah, it's wonderful to see people really sharing from, yeah, I've used this and this. I haven't used this, but I've heard from people who I know, like all of that. I love the passing on. It's so I grew up in a really small community, and people just cared for each other. And as living in a city or a suburb, you lose some of that connection. And so, I mean, when I used to work in an office, people would somebody'd have the sniffles, or they'd be sick, and I'm like, you do this, this is Andrea's remedy, do this and you will be better in a day and a half, like do it. And they'd like to be sick for 2 weeks, so most of them wouldn't do it, right? But and it was like really simple things, and sometimes that's all it is. And so like I remember hitting a certain age, right, where suddenly every conversation, there was always something about the bowels in every conversation. I think it was around 38, 40. People were suddenly all talking about their bowels and their colons, and like all the things that were happening around that. You wouldn't talk about that when you're younger, right? Like not really. And suddenly there were people around us who were deeply affected. And so you shared, and it was taboo before that, you just didn't have, that wasn't like, you didn't have a conversation about poop, right? I mean, you just didn't. And it's very vital. It's a very vital thing. And we should have no shame or embarrassment around these subjects, but it takes coming to a certain point where you can just lay that down. And sometimes that point has to come from a place of being deeply affected personally, or someone you really love being affected, to where you can just get out of your own way around these subjects. But sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. Andrea, can we pause for a moment?
Yes.
Just so I can put the heating on. And
okay, we just took a little momentary break. So if you see Max's light suddenly changed, it probably is his halo, his beautiful angelic light, but it might also be the overheads just came on. So so yeah, I don't remember where we were, but
you were saying about when we don't normally talk about health issues, like and then there is a need when we get out of our own way because to help the community.
So yeah, so at some point, I mean, you obviously made your way through that health journey, it sounds like, or at least for the most part. I don't know, but now that's been many years ago. And what's, I mean, you've spent a lot of time in a lot of different sort of maybe spiritual searching or spiritual traditions to enrich your life, or peel back the layers, maybe. Tell us about whatever you want to share around that. How has it been for you, this process, sort of pre what's going on now, and like how it's impacted now, the last couple of years?
Well, I'd say, well, when I actually, just to finish that that story about that experience that I went through, when I sort of emerged from it, when I started fixing myself, and I successfully was, fixing myself and learning really how to optimize the body and the being, and sort of this is around the time the whole field of biohacking started. When it started, I'd say, yeah, even maybe a little bit just before that. And then when it emerged, I was kind of like, I was ready for it. But I don't like the idea of that. I didn't resonate with hacking anything, it's like, but I think it's our nature to well, it's some of our natures more than others to want to heal and to want to remember how to fix our bodies and to be able to use our bodies and our consciousness in ways that we're not necessarily taught in the Western world, growing up in going to the schools that we go to. But lots of us have curiosities. That's why a lot of us as kids, we're fascinated by superheroes and stories of people doing extraordinary things, and knowing that a lot of that is possible. And then we have to navigate this matrix that we are all, like, we've agreed to live in, to be born into.
Yeah.
So it's not we can bridge. I think a lot of us are bridges from the matrix into a new world where we really will be living our full human potential, which is vast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's amazing. I don't think in my whole life I ever thought a whole lot until the last few years. I think about what human potential was. I was always sensitive, right? Intuitive. I think the closest thing I ever experienced to what I truly like, I hope I can develop that. I don't really know what it looks like. I would fly all the time in my dreams, right? I would pump my arms and take off, and I'd just be flying. And it was, and sometimes I still go out in my yard, and pump my arms and just see, like, maybe this is the moment it will happen, right? But I fully am on board with you. I've always felt that there's something that was missing in my understanding. And when I discovered like energy work and energy healing, and seeing that anybody can do it, it isn't for extraordinary, what we perceive as extraordinary human beings. That ability is within each and every one of us. And yes, sometimes it's wonderful. I mean, I do that work for people, for clients, with clients, right? Engaging their self-healing ability. And yet I'm also super happy to like show them this is how you can do it. Sometimes we just want to be cared for, and we're really run down, and it's so nice for someone to do it for us, but we do have the ability inside ourselves for us and to give it to others. So I mean, that's,
yeah, absolutely. Both are essential, I think, to us all in varying degrees. Some people want to be looked after more than others, and they want to, not looked after, but they want to receive, healing from from someone else, or from, and that's fine. That's like, it's human nature. Where, there was always someone in the tribe who had the gift or ability or trained, or the lineage of the healer. And that's deep in our natures, definitely.
Yeah. Well, and some people, like, don't you find, I mean, we can know lots of things, but there's things that our natural aptitude or curiosity is going to take us in that direction, right? Most people could sit down and sketch something, right? But do they want to?
Yeah.
People can write. We do it all the time. At some point in your day, everybody can write a sentence, but do you want to devote your life to words? Do you want to devote your life to understanding what did you call it? The neural network of the computer, right? Like,
right. The collective neural network.
Yeah. Some people want to go super deep with that. And so, but but most of us can do things that we never would have thought possible even 40 years ago, 30 years ago on a computer. So
it's amazing. God, it still blows my mind seeing and seeing how we're not, a lot of people are not using that technology maybe in the most advantageous way they could, just by getting a bit sleepy with it, by just checking the phone too much. See people on the street, rather than look into each other's eyes, they'd prefer to get their phone out and keep checking their phone, and that's
even if there's nothing on it.
yeah, it's like more challenging for a lot of people to face another human, and there's nothing going on. It's just another set of eyes, and which is much more enriching, because and it's a mirror as well. Maybe that's one of the reasons. It's because we have to face ourselves as well, and but it's so enriching. It's how we grow, and how it's funny, we're easily, as a species, easily duped into this whole, this over comfortable, habitual habit of the technology. I mean, it's amazing, but it's not fully, it's phenomenal. Like, I won't talk negatively about it, and I'm not a really techie person. I feel that a lot of us can, most of us, we're interacting our consciousness with the silicon in the computer, in the device, and it's a living communication. It's we're communicating with the life in that thing, the thing that is the plasma, a quantum, at a quantum scale, maybe, or not all the time, but there is an element of that. There's a potential there for that because of the silicon chip. And God, I don't know, it's a whole rabbit hole, the whole technology thing, because obviously now everything's becoming more digital, and it's do we have the wisdom, do we have it, I don't know, to I mean, obviously it's a split going on, half our species is choosing to move in a synthetic direction of becoming more synthetic, more and that ain't me.
No.
I'm not gonna...
No, I agree, but it's all a choice, right? And I would not say there's a right or wrong. It's just a matter of where your journey is taking you, where you are going with the consciousness, that's that's like a whole beast of a conversation.
It's beastly. It's huge. Yeah.
And how can we use it wisely, aspects of it, without letting it take over, or letting ourselves be taken over, whilst you don't have to throw it all out in order to I mean, as an instance, right, I'm only just starting to really play with digital currency, cryptocurrency, right? There again, it's I don't fully understand it, but it's effectively, to me, it's like, monopoly money. It's there's a reason that it has value. I don't necessarily understand it, but I didn't really understand why the other thing had any value either, truthfully. Somebody said, why does gold have more value than than shungite, right? I mean, or paper. Like, it's a mechanism, it's a communication tool that we use, and however we use it. And it can be used for good, it can be used for dark ways, and it's a language, it's a way we're playing with each other, and seeing seeing what happens, I guess, seeing where our wisdom is in all of it. So what was it? Oh, you have a YouTube channel. I don't know if it's if you're real active on it, but I popped out there one day. So could you explain to me? I've been waiting specifically to have this conversation with you because the was it the toroidal field or the human torus? Like this is new to me, like that conversation, and you were the one I wanted to kind of explore that with. So from your perspective, what is it?
Human, human torus is just it's like a way of, it's the thing that maybe so it's really around the Merkaba and the energetic field, the biomagnetic field that emanates from our heart, that we know so well. We've done so much sort of like Drumbler's work is all about that line of work, the heart meditation work, and heart math as well. I'm a heart math coach, I'm a trained heart math coach. It focuses on that knowledge, that scientific knowledge of the two toroidal fields that come from the pacemaker cells in the human heart. They're electrically stimulated on each heartbeat, and that for me is still the most beautiful, fascinating information that and meaningful, because you can embody it and bring it into every moment of your life and experiences. Like today, I was at the dentist and I noticed the effect of my biomagnetic field, my heart field, on my dentist as he was doing his work. I consciously calmed mine right down, I almost went into a deep sleep, and he was then able to be relaxed and do his work in the best way he could. And so it was like it was a flow between, and then it was I realized, because in previous dental appointments or when I've had work done, my heart may have been going quite fast, but I was aware of that, but I just hadn't managed to completely calm it down, because it's not an easy situation to be in. And I noticed the slightly, I mean, just he mirrored my energy. He does amazing work, but and it's the same in conversation with other people or with our family and friends. I noticed last night with family, if my heart rate got up a bit, if my emotions and our emotions and our heart rate variability, the pattern of our heart rate are intertwined. Of course, they're intimately linked. They're the same thing, really. And just bringing awareness to that, realizing, just actually watching it as it's happening in yourself, is very empowering. It's deeply empowering, because that when you do kind of get close to mastering it in yourself, in your own being, well, not to use the word mastery, but for want of a different word, I guess just practice.
Skillfulness.
Skillfulness, yeah, you just get good at it, and it comes very easily after, like all skills that you practice, for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been playing a lot the last few months, especially with people. So I had a lot of people that would connect to me at this particular group I was part of. They're like, "Oh, Andrea, you're so calm. I just want to stand next to you." And I'm like, and I was like, but they didn't necessarily, they just wanted it momentarily, right? But when I would offer to show them the skills that helped me to acquire that, they weren't quite ready. And this has been an ongoing conversation. And so that's all right. And I noticed it's funny you talk about the dentist. I have to go on next Tuesday, and I used to have like the laughing gas just to get my teeth cleaned, right? Could be super chill all the time, like put me in a crisis, no problem. A car accident, no problem. Bring me to the dentist, you better pump me full of laughing gas because they're going to be doing stuff that for a long time I had memories of pain, right? And uh, and so about 2 years ago, I finally decided, okay, I've got all the tools. I'm just going to. I realized that the pain, I was actually coming into it with a past memory. I wasn't even feeling the pain anymore. It was just the memory, the sound, the tools would go off. There would be a memory triggered, and I would spend the whole time tensed, really, really tense, anticipating that there would be pain. And it probably took a year of there actually not being any pain in the process before I allowed myself to say, okay, this time we'll try it without the gas, And now I feel like even if there were pain, I can breathe through it. I can calm myself. I can center myself. But it's a work in progress. You don't, the beauty of practice is you can work with it when you're not in those situations, so that when you are, you have the skills, you do have the skillfulness to navigate whatever you're kind of, even if something really excruciating were to happen, you could you could do it, but so that's cool. So tell me about heart math. What is that? I'm not real familiar with it. Is it just sort of this thing of connecting to, as you said, the heart, the
Toroidal field.
Toroidal field, and you said a pacemaker. You said the pacemaker.
The pacemaker field. Well, it's not actually, interestingly, it's not spoken of in heart math. That element of the biomagnetic, the toroidal field that is spoken of. I think Drumlow speaks about that. He's spoken about that, but it's yeah. So heart math is really a system of breathing techniques that focus. They're heart focused breathing techniques, and the purpose is for bringing people into coherence in the most efficient, fast way known, that really is real and works and has measurable effects. You can measure before and after, and you can even measure as it's happening with their little devices called the M Wave. It used to be called the M Wave Pro, or the M Wave. They still sell those, and the Inner Balance is their new one, which is like it's got a sensor that you put on your earlobe, and you kind of clip it onto your lapel. And there's an app you can get for Android or iPhone, and you can monitor your heart rate variability. So heart math is all about heart rate variability, which is the variability of your heart rate rather than just the speed or the pace of your heart rate. So a good heart rate variability, if you've got a good flexible heart rate variability, you could be going up and down in the pace, the speed of your heart rate. But if you have good flexible heart rate variability, you can be in coherence in a chaotic. You could have a fast heart rate rather, and it could be in complete coherence. You could be in complete coherence. It's the variability. So I'm not that good at describing.
It's one of those things you understand it, but sometimes to bring words to it.
Well, no, to be honest, so I did the training, and I practice with the heart math community like regularly. We do these great Zoom calls, we do meditations together. I'm still learning the science of it, and it's not very difficult, but it's more, I'm so experientially led that but anyway, it's heart math is all about that, and they help institutions sort of teachers, firefighters, the police force, medics, all frontline kind of jobs, high stress jobs. These people all employ heart math techniques really successfully to come back into coherence really quickly.
It's really interesting because it makes me think of, I used to be part of a meditation community here in Nashville for many years. And, there's this idea of what it means to be spiritual, right? In any community, like what is the way of being spiritual? And meditation was considered to be there were two sides of the coin. At the time, there was a lot of people coming out with the MBSR, the meditation-based stress reduction, right? And so there were the meditators in the Buddhist community who were like, oh, if it's not spiritually based, it's you're led astray, right? And then there's people over here in sort of more sort of therapeutic use of meditation, and they were, everybody was just at odds, right? Again, polarity, right? Over a beautiful tool, right? And they can help you regardless of however you're coming to something as magnificent as sitting with yourself and learning to meet your mind and your heart and your breath. I don't care how you get there. If you get there, in my experience, it's helpful no matter what. But I remember our community, we met on the second floor of this building, and it was so fun. For about 2 months, they opened a juice bar right below us, and we met on Sunday mornings. And I mean, just to watch, like we'd been practicing together for years, but the minute we introduced some like chaos into it, it was all good if we were in our perfect little zone. And I just enjoyed it so much, like watching how we just all kind of lost ourselves to this chaos right below us. And it took about 2 months, and and there were 3 sanghas, 3 groups that used this same space on different days, and every one of us were like, oh, we can't handle it, we can't handle the juice bar, and so it was funny because that moment of interjecting the chaos into it, it followed us to the next 3 locations. And so you would get set in, and noise became a predominant theme of how can we deal with the outside noise, people talking in the hallway, all this stuff. So it was a beautiful, some people were very frustrated and angry about it. Some people started to lighten up, right? Oh, how do we bring this? We're literally doing this so we can learn how to, like you say, when your heart rate is faster, you can still be in coherence. How can I be in coherence out in the outside world, as well as on a meditation cushion in a silent space? How can I do that? And meditation, I mean, it's one tool. It's not the only one that can help you get there, but so yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I think this is definitely part of the journey for a lot of us. When we start meditating, you notice external sounds more, and you kind of bound to, I guess it's going to happen as soon as you do something. As soon as you still yourself, you just naturally notice any information in the external environment. Yeah. But also life does throw up these ridiculous challenges as part of the journey, and and that's all part of the journey. And it's but that is a fundamental one, I think, with meditation, is dealing with, or being able to kind of become friends with or just at peace with whatever's going on around you.
Yeah.
As long as it's not too bad.
Yeah. But meeting the flow, equanimity, the rise and fall of moment by moment. It's the best gift you can give yourself, and others. And so, well, friend, we've been talking a while here, and probably we should wrap it up. Is there anywhere that people can connect with you if you want them to connect with you? We can.
So yeah, I do have that YouTube channel, Human Taurus. It's just HUMANTORUS.
Okay.
And I'm picking it up again. I had a break after my dad passed away, and I had some time off. Picking it up again, and I also have website max-harvey.com. That's under construction. That shows all my artwork and web design work, and
Awesome.
there's another website that I have called earthheartsun.com, where I sell kind of energy meditation tools, and I offer my heart math services, and hopefully soon to offer my imagery dream work services that I've been training with Catherine Chainberg now. I've been training with Catherine for 7 years now.
Oh, wow.
On and off, but I'm focusing more on that so that I can, because it's a lifetime's work. It's a beautiful, rich tapestry of work to embody, and so I hope to be able to offer that soon.
Oh man, that's awesome. I can't wait to hear more about that as you get into it, like in the way that you want to offer it. So, well, this has been really, really great, Max. I love hanging out with you, and I'm glad other people got to see your heart. That makes me happy. I was literally telling my wife, I'm like, oh, like this is gonna be so much fun. I get to have a fun. I was trying to explain you to her, and I said, and kind of like you described yourself. Sometimes it's hard to describe you, but I feel it did a pretty good job. So
Yeah,
gentle, and curious were the two words that came to mind, and heartfelt. Oh, such a heart. Such a heart.
oh, from one to another. Thank you.
Thank
You know, you have a huge heart. And yeah, thank you.
All right.
Andrea, thank you.
Thank you. And we will have more videos like this. So be sure to subscribe if you want to be notified when those are live. And otherwise, have a beautiful, blessed day. So my heart to you.